It's fixable. Don't worry.
Thank you. I was so worried.
Of course. My kid drew this.
It's beautiful. They look so happy.
Yeah, they are.
The champagne glass hit the marble floor, shattering into 1,000 glittering diamonds, but not a single person looked down. The silence in the grand ballroom was so heavy it felt like it could crush your ribs. 300 of the city's wealthiest elites were holding their breath, their eyes darting between three people: the stunning billionaire heiress in the red dress, the man in the cheap rental suit standing next to her, and the groom, who had just turned pale as a ghost. The groom, a man known for his arrogance and ruthless business deals, was trembling. He didn't look at his bride. He didn't look at his wealthy in-laws. He was staring directly at the man with the calloused hands and the scuffed shoes. The man everyone had been mocking for the last 4 hours. The groom took a shaky step forward, bowed his head low, and whispered a word that echoed through the silent hall: "Boss?" But before we find out why the most powerful man in the room just bowed to a struggling single dad, let's go back to where it all began. If you enjoy stories about karma, hidden identities, and love conquering class divides, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that touches the heart. Now, let's rewind 2 weeks, to a rainy Tuesday that changed everything. Lucas wiped the grease from his forehead with the back of his hand, leaving a dark smudge on his already stained coveralls. The rain was hammering against the tin roof of Fix It All, the small, struggling auto repair shop he owned on the edge of town. It wasn't much, but it was his. Ever since his wife, Maria, had passed away 3 years ago, this shop and his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, were the only things keeping him grounded. Lucas was tired. Not just sleep-deprived tired, but soul-tired. The bills were piling up, the roof was leaking, and Lily needed braces. He was a good man, a hard worker, but in a world that valued flash over substance, Lucas felt like he was invisible. He was just about to close up shop when a sleek, silver Aston Martin sputtered and died right in front of his garage. It was a car worth more than Lucas's entire life earnings. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a woman who looked like she had walked off the cover of a fashion magazine, though currently, she looked ready to scream. This was Elena. At 32, Elena was the CEO of a global tech empire, a billionaire heiress, and according to the tabloids, the ice queen of the city. But right now, standing in the rain with a dead phone and a dead car, she didn't look like a queen. She looked defeated. Lucas didn't see a billionaire, he saw a person in trouble. He grabbed an umbrella and ran out. He didn't fawn over her or ask for a selfie. He simply held the umbrella over her head and asked if she was okay. Elena was stunned. Usually, men looked at her with dollar signs in their eyes or fear in their hearts. Lucas just looked kind. He spent 2 hours fixing her alternator, refusing to cut corners. While he worked, Elena sat on a wobbly stool in his shop, drinking cheap instant coffee. For the first time in years, she had a real conversation. Lucas spoke about Lily with a brightness in his eyes that made Elena's chest ache. He didn't complain about his poverty, he bragged about his daughter's drawings. When the car was fixed, Elena pulled out a black credit card. "Charge whatever you want," she said. Lucas shook his head and charged her the standard rate, $80.50. "That's the price for the part and labor," he said firmly. "I don't charge a fancy car tax." Elena left that day with a fixed car and a strange feeling she couldn't shake. She was surrounded by people who wanted everything from her, yet the man with nothing had asked for nothing. A week later, Elena returned. But she didn't bring her car, she brought a proposition. Her younger sister, Sarah, was getting married to Marcus, a rising star in the venture capital world. It was going to be the wedding of the century. But for Elena, it was a nightmare. Her family was relentless. They were constantly trying to set her up with pompous business partners, judging her for being single, and whispering that she was too intimidating to be loved. She needed a buffer. She needed a date who wasn't part of their toxic circle. She needed someone real. "I can't pay you to be my date," Elena said, standing in the grease-stained shop, "because I know you'd be offended. But if you come with me, I will fund a college trust for Lily. Not as payment, but as a thank you for saving me from my family." Lucas hesitated. He didn't fit into her world. He owned one suit, and it was from his high school graduation. But he looked at the photo of Lily taped to his toolbox. He thought about her future. He swallowed his pride and agreed. The day of the wedding was a blur of anxiety for Lucas. Elena had sent a tailor to his small apartment, but Lucas insisted on wearing his own clothes, a simple navy suit he had bought from a thrift store and tailored himself. He looked handsome, in a rugged, stoic way, but he felt like an imposter. When Elena picked him up, she looked breathtaking in a crimson gown, but her eyes were anxious. "Just be yourself," she whispered as they approached the venue, a sprawling estate that looked like a palace. "That's all I need." The moment they walked in, the judgment was palpable. The air in the room shifted. Elena's mother, a woman dripping in diamonds and disdain, descended upon them like a hawk. She looked Lucas up and down, her lip curling. "Elena," she said, her voice dripping with ice, "is this the help?" Lucas felt his face burn. He expected Elena to make an excuse, to invent a fake backstory about him being an eccentric artist or a hidden millionaire. Instead, Elena linked her arm through his and held it tight. "This is Lucas," she said loud enough for the nearby guests to hear. "He's the most honest man I've met in 10 years. He's my date." Throughout the evening, Lucas endured the whispers. He heard the snickers about his shoes. He saw the way the waiters hesitated before serving him the expensive champagne. Elena's sister, the bride, was too busy posing for photos to care, but the guests were ruthless. A group of young investment bankers cornered Lucas near the bar. "So, Lucas," one sneered, "what's your portfolio look like? Stocks? Bonds? Or just spare change?" They laughed. Lucas took a slow breath. "My portfolio is a 6-year-old girl named Lily who knows how to say, please, and thank you," Lucas said calmly. "Which is more than I can say for you gentlemen." Elena watched him from across the room, her heart swelling. He wasn't intimidated. He possessed a dignity that money couldn't buy. She realized, with a sudden jolt, that this wasn't an act for her. She was actually falling for the mechanic. Then came the speeches. The reception hall was seated. The groom, Marcus, took the microphone. Marcus was the golden boy of the business world, arrogant, loud, and successful. He had built a tech empire in record time. He stood at the head table, raising his glass, boasting about his acquisitions, his mergers, and his millions. He barely mentioned his bride. He was drunk on his own power. "I am a self-made man." Marcus bellowed into the mic, his face flushed. "I built titanium tech from the ground up. No one handed me anything. I crushed the competition because I am the apex predator." The crowd clapped politely, though many looked uncomfortable. Marcus continued, his ego inflating with every word. "And I have zero tolerance for failure. In my world, you are either a boss, or you are nothing. Look at this room. We are the kings." He scanned the room, basking in the attention, until his eyes landed on Elena's table. He saw Elena, and then he saw the man sitting next to her. The man in the cheap navy suit, calmly cutting his steak. Marcus froze. The microphone dipped in his hand. The color drained from his face so fast it looked like he might faint. He blinked, rubbing his eyes as if he were hallucinating. He stepped off the podium, ignoring his bride calling his name. He walked through the tables, knocking over a chair in his haste. The room went silent. Everyone watched as the arrogant groom approached the table of the nobody. Elena tensed up, ready to defend Lucas. She thought Marcus was coming to mock him. She stood up, "Marcus, if you say one word." But Marcus didn't hear her. He stopped 3 feet from Lucas. His hands, previously waving confidently, were now clasped together in front of him, shaking. Lucas looked up, wiping his mouth with a napkin, his expression unreadable. "Boss?" Marcus whispered, his voice cracking. The room gasped. Lucas sighed, a heavy, tired sound. He placed his napkin on the table and looked at the groom. "Hello, Marcus. You missed a button on your vest." I. Marcus stammered. "I didn't know. I didn't know you were here. I thought you were gone. I thought you were in Europe. Or dead." "Just retired, Marcus," Lucas said softly. "Just a dad now." Elena looked between them, confused. "Lucas? You know him?" Marcus looked at Elena, his eyes wide with terror and reverence. "Know him? Elena, this is Lucas Sterling. He's the ghost. Murmurs erupted across the hall. The older businessmen in the room suddenly sat up straighter. Lucas Sterling. The name was a legend. 10 years ago, Lucas Sterling was the greatest innovator the tech world had ever seen. He was the silent architect behind the city's infrastructure, a multi-billionaire genius who had patented the very technology Marcus's company was built on. But 5 years ago, when his wife got sick, Sterling vanished. He sold his shares, liquidated his assets, and disappeared. Rumors said he went mad, others said he moved to a private island. "He's not just a mechanic?" Elena's mother shrieked, clutching her pearls. "He owns 51% of my company," Marcus said, his voice trembling. "He's the silent majority shareholder. He funded my first startup when everyone else laughed at me. He's the reason I'm standing here." Marcus looked at Lucas, tears actually forming in his eyes. The arrogance was gone, replaced by the memory of a young, broke boy being helped by a giant. "You saved my life, boss. And I just gave a speech about being self-made." Lucas stood up. He didn't look angry. He looked sad. "You were a good kid, Marcus. You had vision. That's why I backed you." Lucas looked around the opulent room, at the people who had sneered at him all night. "But I listened to your speech. You forgot the one thing I tried to teach you. Money is a tool, not a rank. Being a boss isn't about crushing people. It's about lifting them up. If you think you're a king because of your bank account, then you're poorer than you were when you were sleeping in your car." The silence was absolute. The waiters, the billionaires, the bride, everyone was hanging on the words of the man in the cheap suit. Lucas turned to Elena. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I wanted to be sure you liked me for me. Not for the ghost. When Maria died, the money didn't save her. It felt useless. So I put it away. I wanted Lily to grow up knowing the value of dirty hands and hard work, not just signing checks." Elena looked at him, tears streaming down her face. She didn't care about the billions. She cared that the most powerful man in the room was also the humblest. "I liked you when you were a mechanic," she whispered. "I think I love you now that I know who you really are." Lucas smiled, the first genuine smile he had shown to the room. He turned back to Marcus. "Enjoy your wedding, Marcus. But tomorrow, check your email. We need to talk about the direction of the company. I think it's time for some changes in leadership culture." Marcus nodded vigorously, looking like a chastised schoolboy. "Yes, sir. Yes, boss." Lucas offered his arm to Elena. "Shall we go? There's a taco truck on 5th Street that makes better food than this, and Lily is waiting for a bedtime story." "Lead the way," Elena said, beaming. They walked out of the ballroom, heads held high, leaving the stunned silence of the elite behind them. As the doors closed, the room erupted into chaos, but Lucas and Elena didn't look back. They stepped out into the cool night air, hand in hand. Lucas wasn't just a billionaire, he was a father, a survivor, and a good man. And that was a currency that never lost its value. The story of Lucas and Elena reminds us that you can never judge a book by its cover, or a man by his suit. True worth is found in character, humility, and how we treat those who can do nothing for us. If this story moved you, please hit that like button, it really helps the channel grow, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that good people still exist. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about love, justice, and the twists of fate. Until next time, stay humble and be kind.